Hello, hello, hello. I think I'm live. I hope I'm live. I'm going to double check to see if I'm live. If you're there, say hi in the chat. Let me know that I'm live. Looks like I'm not live on LinkedIn yet. Refreshing. I am live on LinkedIn now. All right, there's one success. Let me check YouTube. And I am live on YouTube. All right, I think I'm good. I don't really have an agenda for the day except to do some live coding. I'll probably work on Kivik again. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on Kivik. I have a pull request that I've been working on that's broken right now, and I'm not going to debug that today because it's kicking my ass, and I don't want to show that in public. More to the point, I don't want to bore you all by not making much progress. I think there's a race condition in, and maybe even a bug in this SQLite driver I'm using. Not mine, the upstream one. So I'm going to work on something else, but in Kivik, I think. So let me start sharing my screen here. I'm also happy to take questions today. I'm always happy to take questions, but if you have a question about anything, programming in Go, CI/CD, how to pronounce my middle name, what my middle name is, anything, just bring it up in chat. I'm happy to talk about stuff. All right. Let me. I just finished an interview for my podcast. It'll come out on Friday. So I haven't quite finished shifting mental gears yet. That's why I'm kind of disoriented here. The good news is nobody's watching me yet anyway. So if you see me talking to myself right now on the replay, this is why. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to be. Yeah, I'm sorry. My mind is still somewhere else. All right. Let's see where I am. Let's check out master. All right. Let's pull up my editor and get started on something. I don't know what yet. I'm going to see what kind of to-dos I have open here. Whoops. All right, I have some to-dos. That's not exactly what I had in mind. Let me try this. Actually, I just had an idea for something I could do that's not even related to the SQLite driver. I'm going to do that. So I have a command line tool called Kivik that's part of the Kivik project. And it kind of works like curl. It's very much modeled after curl, except it's designed specifically to interact with CouchDB. So it's like imagine if you're using curl to talk to CouchDB, it should do the same thing, but simpler. So let me just demonstrate. So I can do that with curl, and that gives some generic information about the database. Or I should be able to do the same thing with Kivik. And it doesn't like that. Does it get? Yeah, so it does essentially the same thing. It outputs a simpler format, so it just returns server version 3.3.3 Apache Software Foundation. So it takes the server and that. Basically, the information that you might be wanting to read here anyway, assuming you're a human. I'm pretty sure I can do. I don't remember how. I can tell it to output the original data. How is that done? dash F. Is it F raw? Yeah. So if I do minus F raw, then it outputs the same thing I would get from curl. Okay. So that's a really simple example. I noticed that I had forgotten or failed at least to implement a feature that I think would be very useful. So let me demonstrate. Let's say I want to create a document. I could do like foo / let's call the document doc1. I have to give it a header and then some data. No data for now. This is curl, right? So this is completely verbose. That should work, right? Now the Kivik equivalent, we'll call this one doc2, doesn't allow me. Oh, wait, you know what? I think it does. I don't know why I didn't see it before. Let's see if that works. It does. Okay, so I don't need to. The feature I wanted to add was this minus D. I don't know why I didn't see that. You know what? I think I remember why I didn't see that. I think it's because it didn't work with attachments. Let's try that. All right. Oh, it looks like it's there too. All right, so I think I just ran down a rabbit hole that I'm not going to do anything with today because it looks like it's already there. I was going to add the minus D capability, but it's already there. But that's cool. Anyway, I got to demonstrate the Kivik command line tool. Let's instead do what I was going to do originally. And let's add something to, I don't know, let's see what we have under get here. Those are not, this is a feature I'm not going to implement for a while, if ever. And this is completely unrelated to what I care about right now. So let's not do that one. Let's try maybe delete attachment. And that one's not relevant right now. Here we go. I think most of this is irrelevant now. Let me see. Returns forth one document that does exist. Yeah, these are notes that I from my pair programming session with Dennis several weeks ago that I think are irrelevant. I think they've all been covered. So we're going to do this a different way. Oh, I have one more place to look here. Two more. Put. See if there's any uncovered cases here. Yeah, we could do some of these. Let's do this one. Include a stub with an invalid file name. So to make it clear what I'm talking about here, I'll use the curl example because it's a little more explicit for demonstration purposes. So there's the document. Let me update that and add an attachment to it. Foo.text equals, we need to specify the rev ID. All right, so here we have a document with an attachment. Let me put that through JQ to make it a little easier to read. All right, so there's a document and it has an attachment. And you notice it doesn't include the data, it just says a stub. The idea here is when I update the document, if I want to keep that that attachment, I need to include that stub. The test I want to do is I include a stub for a file that doesn't exist. So let's try that. So I'm doing another put. I'm putting the entire document. We specify actually I can do the revision in the document body. So I'm going to copy and paste this entire thing here. Then I'm going to rename that attachment to something that doesn't exist and see what it does. foo.txt, foo blah.txt. Let me see what the error code is. So it returns a 412 precondition failed error with this text. I'm actually now wondering if I've already done this. Let me see. I already have. No, that's a bad request. Okay. Oh, I have done it already actually here. So that test case is already handled. So let me just delete that. Let me see what else. File name validation. I'm not sure if I need to do that. What else can I have here? Who edits equals false. I feel like I've done most of these. I don't know why these are still on the list. New edits equals false. Let me see about that. So new edits equals false is used during replication. The question is, have I added tests for doing replication with attachments? I don't think so. All right, so there's something I'm going to do. That's the case I'm going to cover. New edits equals false with an attachment. So my test setup here. Actually, I don't think I need to do a test setup in this case. I could just return test directly. And let's see, what are my inputs? I need doc ID is fine. And then the document itself with an attachment. I have some little helper functions that create the attachment for me. Good enough. Sure, I don't really care about that, but it's fine. New edits equals false. All right, and my expectations now. I want doc ID 1, revision 1. And the attachments should be there. This is basically going to assert that the single attachment exists with the appropriate metadata. There's my test case. Let's see if that passes. I'll be surprised if it does. Okay, it does not. New edits needs revision. Yeah, it does. Okay, so I forgot to put that in there. Let's add that. I can just make this up. No, I don't need the whole. I just want underscore rev. And then I can make up one ABC is fine. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Now we have a panic. I love these. Index out of range. All right. I'm not sure why, but we'll find out. Where did this happen? It happened in put test 1097. Okay, so basically I got 0 revisions, and so this test is panicking. So I need to make it return, or not revisions, but what is this fetching here? Attachments. Yeah. What is what? Yeah, so it's the attachments that are failing. Wait a second. What did that say? 1097. Oh, because it panicked, not because it wasn't a t.fatal. That makes sense. All right. So this is not creating attachments, is basically what's happening. And I have a strong suspicion as to why. So here's my put function or method. And here's the branch that handles replication mode. And this mode is not creating attachments because it doesn't know anything about attachments. If we look through what it's doing here, it creates a revision. Well, this doesn't actually do the creation. This just prepares a statement. And then we loop over all revisions. In some cases, there can be more than one revision provided when synchronizing or replicating. And it creates all those revisions. And then it, okay, what's this else here? Okay, I'm not actually doing that case. Let me close. I'm doing this as the else case. So it's just creating a single revision. This should probably be indented to line up. So I'm inserting the revision. And then I insert the document. And I'm not doing anything with attachments, right? So that's why it's failing. There's nothing actually even has any knowledge about attachments at all here. Now I have a function, a helper function that does the attachment creation for me. It does all this for me. In the non-replication case, I'm not sure if it would handle the replication case for me. If it would probably dry up this code a little bit. Let me have a look. It's this create rev function. The thing is, I'm not sure that this would work well. It certainly wouldn't work now as it stands in the case of replication. So what I'm not even going to try to use this. I'm going to, well, I have to decide. I'm debating whether or not to modify this function to support replication mode, which would likely make it almost completely duplicate. You know, like I would end up duplicating a lot. I'm not sure. Or if I should add the new functionality for attachments to the other branch that handles replication. I'm considering how similar the two paths are. So for replication, I need to potentially create more than one rev. I don't do certain validation checks. Let me just look through this and see what would be different. So in the create rev case, I create the revision. All right, insert into blah, blah. This creates a revision. Yeah, so this already would be different. This creates a revision that increments by 1. When I'm doing the replication case, I already know the revision number. There's no incrementing. So this would be different. Yeah, so I don't want to use that function. I think it's going to be different in almost every case, almost every step. So what I'm going to do is instead is update this branch, this if branch, to support attachments, and then I'll probably refactor that out into its own function later. But I'll worry about that in a moment. I'm going to make my test pass first, and I'll worry about refactoring. So actually, I probably want to open that thing again. I want to see how attachments are done. All right. So here's how attachments are. I'm going to put this over to the side. I hope that doesn't make the screen too crowded. And then I want to insert some logic in here. So the ordering, can that just be copied? Let's see what data is. Is data set properly? Yeah, it looks like it is. Okay. So I just copied that. All that does, all this bit does is sort the file names of any attachments in the document so that they're done consistently. I'm wondering actually if this particular part can be copied. You know, so maybe I just move it to its own function and call it from both places. Let me walk through it here. So here, so I've sorted the file names. That part's the same. And then I loop through those file names. If it's a stub, then I do this. That sharp part should be the same between both. If it's not a stub, I do this, which is to create the file attachment from scratch. You know, I think I can think I'm going to do create a new function here. So let me delete this copy that I just did. Let's create a new function called func create doc attachments. Not necessarily the final name, but that's what I'm starting with. And what information do I need here? I need to know the attachment, which is this bit. What type is that? Just an attachment, okay. I'm sure this function signature, actually, no, I'm going to just use my IDE to do this, or my editor. I think I can just extract this. Let's try it that way. Down to, see how far it goes. Yeah. So from here up to here, refactor extract function. I don't understand why VS Code always does this should return thing. It's kind of ridiculous, but let's call this create doc attachments. And we're passing in. Yeah, okay. So the first thing I want to do in here is get rid. Let me actually first back up here, rename this to error. Won't let me because it shadows, but I don't care. And this should be. So the first thing it returns is Boolean. Okay, I want to get rid of that. That's just ridiculous. So I'm going to delete it here. If error does not equal nil, make this a little bit more idiomatic. And then delete this Boolean here. And then we're going to delete every place where it breaks as a result, which would be all the return statements, right? Blah, 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 and blah. Okay, I'm not really sure about all this. Oh, here's one. Here's another one. So I feel like this revision is not being returned appropriately. Actually, that doesn't matter because I don't need the revision there. I'm passing the revision in. I don't need to return it from here. So this can be, I don't need that at all. This can just become this. Simplify things. So let's delete this also. Stop returning that return error, that value we don't use. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I missed one here earlier with a Boolean, so just simplify it all at once. And there. What did I miss? Miss return. Okay, I don't need that. Return. Okay, actually, you know what? This can be simplified further. I don't need to return here since it's the last statement. I can just do this. All right, too many return values. I have still broken here somewhere. How are we now? Import, sort, imported, not used. Yeah, okay, I don't care about that right now. Okay. I think I just extracted that successfully. Let's make sure the tests still pass. Oh, because the one I just added is still broken, of course. Let me comment that out and see if the other tests still pass. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to commit this. Extract create doc attachments func. I have a question in chat here. Can you please suggest some beginner resources for Go? I get this question all the time. I actually have a video on this YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, Boldly Go, recommending books. So if you're interested in a book on how to learn Go, check out that video. It's called Best Books. Let me just find it here. It'll be easier than trying to remember off the top of my head. There it is. Yeah, best books. What is the best book to learn Go in 2023? Is the name of the video. Check that out. TLDR, the best book. My recommendation is learning. Well, it depends on your programming level. If you're an absolute beginner at learning programming, then For the Love of Go is probably my recommendation by John Arundel. If you're already an experienced developer, then my recommendation is Learning Go by John Bodner. And he has a second edition of his book out, just came out in February. So get the second edition if you don't already have the old one is great too, but it doesn't cover some of the new features in Go. So the second edition just came out. It's a great book. Yeah. There's my copy. This is actually the first edition. I have the second edition downstairs, I think. Anyway, check out that video for some more details on that. All right, so I've extracted this attachment function capability. Now I can hopefully just use that in this other case, in the replication case, to simplify that stuff too. Let's see here. Needs to go, yeah, in this branch. So I think I can just call create attachments, create doc attachments. If error equals do all of these things actually exist, and are they the right type? It looks like they are. Rev is the rev, okay. Not enough. This wants 2 revisions. Does it actually need that? Let me see what's going on here. Okay, this is interesting. So yeah, it does need that. What's happening here? In the case that I have, let me explain what's going on. I'm getting ahead of myself mentally. In the case that the attachment is a stub, I don't have all of the data in. Oh crap! I'm trying to think. I'm still getting ahead of myself mentally. So when I send an attachment stub and a put, this query here basically duplicates the metadata from the previous revision into the new one. Since I don't have all the data there, I don't have the content in the new attachment. So that's what that does. I can't do that in the replication case because there is no quote previous revision. Like you can replicate stuff out of order. The interesting thing though is I'm not actually doing that right now either. So what that means is in practice, I could just pass any arbitrary data here that works. I'm just going to pass rev twice. Oops. That will satisfy the function signature, and I think it will make the test pass. It does. So the test passes now. Let me add a to-do here. Let me go ahead and commit this. Actually, I can delete this because that's done. Allow creating attachments in new edits equals false mode. Now I need to consider what should happen with those stubs. That's the next thing on the list here, right? And that's the case I just hacked around. That won't actually work. And I have to decide what should actually happen in that case. I think I need to look at the documentation for CouchDB to see what the replication protocol says about some of this. Pull that up here. Zoom in a bit. Okay. It might just be that I actually, before I look at the replication protocol, let me look at the API docs and see if it makes any mention of whether this is even allowed. Where is it? Is it here? Nope, I clicked the wrong link. So when I put, all right, so here's the put in point, new edits, if false, a well-formed rev must be included in the document. New edits is equals false is used by the replicator to insert documents into the target database, even if that leads to creation of conflicts. Also, the false value is intended for use only by the replicator. Yeah, but it doesn't tell me what it does in the case of attachments. Maybe I'll test it out. All right, so the magical thing about new edits equals false is I can create conflicts this way. So I'm going to add that here. New edits equals false. And I'm going to set the revision to something ridiculous. And I have fooblaw.txt. That's an invalid attachment. Let's see what happens. Okay, it says it's invalid. Let's see what happens if I give it a valid name. Still says invalid. Okay, that makes sense to me, I think, because the point is, I'm telling it use this attachment stub, but it has no idea what that stub references because it doesn't know what the parent revision is. So I can mimic that. So let me just write a test to mimic that behavior. Now, what I don't know is if it's possible to generate a new edits equals false attachment stub that would be valid. I'll try to prove that later. An attachment stub and no parent rev. So adding the parent rev is a little bit trickier, and I'll do that in a moment. But this should result in a, is it 400 error? What did I get? It's a 412 also. Okay, new edit equals false with an attachment stub and no parent rev results in 412. All right, let's create our query here. We need to pass in a rev and attachments. Yep, stub, good. That doesn't matter. It's just arbitrary, whatever nonsense data. New edit equals false, good. I want precondition failed. And I want, that's not the exact text I'm going to expect, but it's good enough to start with. Let's see what the test does. All right. It actually looks like it's working, except for that text. So let's see here. I don't know why it's working. Let me follow the logic here. Actually, I have an idea, but let's see here. Invalid attachment. I'm going to search for that text. Okay, this is funny. I just noticed that this error message is hard-coded to say invalid attachment stub in bar. I don't know what bar is supposed to mean, but I'm sure I copied and pasted that from somewhere, probably from a test where I was testing bar. And it looks like that's the error I'm getting. So that's, yeah, because I'm calling this. So that kind of makes sense, actually. Except that bar, yeah, that's where the error is coming from. But bar doesn't make sense. What should that reference? Should that be the file? Yeah, that should be the document ID. So that should be %s data.id. Yeah, foo makes more sense there. All right, so, and now one other test had that hard-coded input test 1046. No, this one. I'm not sure why I had bar in there. Okay, so that's working now. I want to make sure it's working for the right reason. So the truth is, it's not really working for the right reason. You recall that I'm passing rev twice to that function over here. Right here. That second one should really probably be nil. And then I don't need to, and then so because I'm passing it twice, then here in this query, it's trying to basically insert metadata reading from itself as a parent, which will fail. But I think what I want to do is make this nil and detect that case earlier. So this second rev becomes a pointer to revision, and that will so in this case, I can pass nil. Cannot use rev, variable type revision, as pointer. Okay, I'm confused. Oh, I need to just resave it. Okay. So now it's going to panic or crash or something, right? Because I'm passing nil instead of something. So what I want to do is detect when that's nil and then skip that query and just return that error immediately. So this is crashing on 192. So basically I can, right here, if currev equals nil, I can just early return. I don't need all that. I just want to copy this line here. That'll save me a database query, make it a little tiny bit faster. Yeah, so now that works. And for the right reason. Don't work with stubs in new edits equals false mode. Now, there's a possibility that a stub would work in a certain case. I'm going to try to replicate that case and see what the ReloCouchDB does. So first, I'm going to start with a fresh document. Put let's call it doc3 because I think I already had a doc2, foo.txt. All right. All right, so there's the document that I just created, and it has this attachment stub. Let me do raw output because I want to copy this and modify it a little bit. I'm going to use curl this time again because I want to see the raw output. Put. And we're going to do this. Document 3, new edits equals false. content type application JSON. And now is where we're going to build this whole thing. Now, rather than passing a single raw revision, as I do by default here, I'm going to pass in an object, revisions. This allows me to specify parents and so on, right? And it takes a start, which let's say this is revision 4, I guess. No, I'm going to just go one revision up. So I have revision 1, so I'm going to do revision 2. And then let me look up the full format here. Then IDs, okay. IDs. And I need to specify the current revision first, which I'll call ABC, and then the parent revision, and not the whole thing, but just the part after the dash. So what I'm doing here is telling it the parent, and I want to see if it now works with a stub. I think it's complete. And it worked. Now I want to see, so I need to add that. Let me just make a note to my to-do list here. Okay, that's done. New edits equals false. Revisions plus stub works. Now I want to check whether, so I just had, I just specified the immediate parent. Now I want to see what happens if I specify like a number of parents ahead. So I'm going to say, I hope this makes sense. I know it's kind of archaic and kind of confusing. I'm going to say start equals like 4. So now I'm creating revision 4, 3, and 2. But they lead back to the same parent and with a stub. I'm going to see if this works. It did. Interesting. And the reason that's interesting is because in theory, that document, that attachment could have changed in revisions 2, 3, or 4. Because I'm not telling it anything about the history of that attachment, but it assumes that it didn't. So, yeah, it looks like with revisions, the stub thing works. Let me try it without the parent at all and see what happens in that case. So I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna create doc4, just so I have a fresh start, and then I'm going to delete this revision, the one that we have a common reference to. So now I'm creating, so revision 1 exists of doc4. Now I'm going to create revision 4 without telling it who the ancestors are. And so in principle, the revision or the stub should fail now, but let's see. Already doc4, and then I need to put doc4 here as well. And it failed. Okay. So plus stub works with direct path to ancestor. New edits equals false. False revisions plus stub fails without direct path to attachment ancestor. So I should have phrased it. So there's 2 more test cases I can add. Let's get started. Now in this case, I need to do some setup. So new edits equals false with attachment stub and revisions and parent and revisions works. Okay. Func t testing.t. All right, let's do our setup. So first thing I need to do is create a document, just like I did on the command line a moment ago. I don't need that there. I just need to create a document with an attachment. That's good enough. That's all I care about here. All right, and now here's where I want revisions. Okay, I need to parse. So this revision I get back is going to be 1 dash and then like an MD5 sum. I need to parse that so I can use the second part of it here. So let's do R, comma, error, colon. So I know it'll never fail, so I'll just use a blank line here, or the blank identifier. And then let's say our dot ID. That's the second part. Attachments, got a stub there, great. So what this is doing, I need to put start in here also. So this command here, or this statement here, creates revision 1, and then I'm instructing it in the test case to create revisions 2, which would be called 2-DEF, and 3-GHI. And it should connect this stub to revision 1's metadata. That's what it should do based on what I just experienced on the command line. I want new edits equals false. That's right. I want rev 3, not 2. And I want, this tells me basically the document history that should exist afterwards, and there should be 3 revisions. Yeah. Okay, that's so far so good. And then want attachments. I should have 2 attachments. And actually, yeah, I should have 2 attachments entries, I suppose. Yeah, I should have 2 attachments entries. One for revision 1, one for revision 3. Revision 2 remains unknown. All right, I think that's right. It should be failing right now because I haven't done that yet. So it's still returning this invalid stub because I'm passing in nil right here. So what I need to do now, actually, is that right? Is that right? Because now this revisions branch should be running. Not the other one. So I actually don't expect this to be running at all. Oh, yeah. Okay, but still. So what I need to do is I need to set cur rev to something. Let's do var. I'm going to call it parent. I'm going to call it ancestor. And I'm going to pass that in instead of nil. It's nil by default, so it's actually nil as we run it now. And that means that in this branch, it will remain nil, but now I can set it to something in this branch when I know what it is. And so I can just do that at the top here. Ancestor rev equals, that doesn't make sense. Let me see what I have here. I'm wondering if I already have a method that handles this. Looks like I have this. What does it do? I should have documented it. Leaf returns the leaf revision. That's not what I want. The opposite. I want the parent revision. But let's see what this does. This returns 0, the 0th element of. Yeah, that's not what I want. So, okay, what does this do? Let me add some Go docs, so next time I read it, it makes sense. In reverse order, is that true? It probably is. Yeah, it is. I don't want to call it reverse order. In newest first order, I think is a better way to put this. So the oldest one comes last, which is the one I actually want. So I want equals dot revs. I don't want 0. I want the very last one. I don't know what that. Yeah, so I need to like store this somewhere. If I was using Go 1.22 everywhere, I could use like slices dot reverse and then take the 0th element. I'm using Go 1. I need to support Go back to Go 1.19, so I don't have access to all that stuff. So I'm gonna do it like this. Is that right? -2? Is that correct? I want the last element. So I think it's -1. Another option would be to use this loop. Well, at least I can simplify this and just do revs. Because I don't need to call data.revisions twice or whatever. I'm going to print that out as a debug just to make sure I'm not doing something stupid. I'm going to run just a single test. 3GHI. Yeah, that's not right. Okay, reverse order. Let me look at this again. Oldest first order. So I actually want 0 here. And then I'm going to switch this back to calling the full thing since it's no longer storing that in a separate. Yeah. Ancestor rev. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. It's still not working right, but it's at least the oh, it should be like this. And I need to take the address of it. Will that work? It works. Yay. Okay, so I can delete that first to-do item because it's working. Now I want to add another case. I'm going to duplicate this one and then modify just a little bit to break it so it doesn't have a direct path to an ancestor. And no parent in revisions. That should be a space there in both places. And it shouldn't be works, but returns for 12. Okay, so now I don't get any of these success criteria, and instead I get want status and want error. Yeah. And I'll just delete that. Let's change this to like 6, so it's really far in the future. I don't need this anymore. Don't need this anymore. It fails perfectly. I can delete that second to-do case. Nice. All right. What did I just do? Support new edits plus revisions plus attachment stubs. Nice. I'm on master. Whoops. Let's call this replicating attachments. I'm going to push that up to GitHub and create a pull request, make sure CI is working there before I merge it. All right, that'll take a little bit to run. While it's running, I just saw that one of my other PRs from earlier today has a red X. I'm going to check why. I have some flaky tests, and I suspect that's why. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So I just need to rerun a couple of these tests. So this PR, all it does is it switches to a matrix build configuration so that it's easier to manage these flaky tests. It doesn't really matter for today's live stream, but that's what that PR is for. All right, well, I have 2 PRs now running in CI. Let's look at what we might do next. Let's see if there's anything else here. I'm not going to do that right now. So basically, I can CouchDB supports the ability to do compression. I can do like gzip encoding or something on an attachment. I'm not going to support that right now. I might in the future, but it's not important for the purpose of this right now. Where I'm intending to use this just for testing. I'm not intending to use it for serious workloads. So that's not an important feature. You know, performance tweaks aren't important right now. Delete attachments only in one branch of a document. I'm pretty sure that already works. I added that at a time when I had something else in mind. I had a different structure. Give me 1 second. I'll check my email real quick. I just got an email from my children's kindergarten. I want to make or daycare. I want to make sure it wasn't a problem. It's not. I thought maybe one of the kids was sick. They're not. They're asking about holiday plans. So, anyway, back to this. Attachments to delete. I've already done that. Okay, so I'm not sure what file name validation means. I suppose I wanted to validate that file names are valid. Let me see what file names are valid. I don't think it actually specifies that here. Well, let's do some experimentation here. I'm not sure if there are any invalid characters in a file name in CouchDB, but let's see. I'm going to do doc5 to create a new document here. And let's try putting a slash. It created the document. Let's see what it calls that document. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So it URL encoded the slashes properly. So that's fine. Let's try doc6 and let's put some spaces in here. Is it %20, I think? Yeah, it correctly encoded the space. I don't know that there are any invalid characters in a file name here. As long as it can be URL encoded, I think I can do it. So I don't think I need to do that validation that I had a question mark there. So let's get rid of that. If I recall, I had some to-dos in views that I hadn't looked at yet. Let's see if there's anything there interesting. There's a bunch of things here. I think I started on limit. Maybe not. So there's a bunch of things here. I could add limit, which so this set of tests is for querying multiple documents at a time. Like it's basically all docs you can see here. So it just gives a list of all documents. I can put a limit, so only show the first two. Skip, I think, is like skip the first two, for example. Let me just pull that up here and verify. It's not what I want. API reference. There we go. All docs. Go to the view endpoint. Yeah, those seem like reasonable ones to add today. Skip and limit. Let me look at the status on these PRs here. So this matrix test failed again. Oh, it passed there. Oh, it just thinks it failed because I didn't add enough test coverage. I don't care about that. I'm not going to merge it yet. I want to squash this first. I'll do that later. Let me look at the other PR, the one I just created. It's still running. All right. So while that's happening, I'm going to check out master again. I'm going to reset it. Wait, what's this? Just merge that in there. Push that up again. I'm going to reset my master back a few commits since I accidentally did work on that rather than in the other branch. Now we're going to do all docs limits. That's what we're going to work on while this PR thing is running. All right, let's add a test. All right. So we need to create at least 3 documents, or at least 3 documents to verify that we're only getting the first 2. So there's one called cat, dog, cow. Perfect. All right, what results do I expect? I think they come in alphabetical order, so I should get cat and cow. And then dog should be absent, which means I don't actually need this. Let's see what happens. I'm sure it fails. Yeah, because it returns all 3 because limit is not understood yet. Let me close some of these files I don't care about right now. Whoops. All right, let's see about adding limit support. Okay, so I've added a new type since this code was written. No, I haven't. It's already here. This is the right one, right? Yeah, that's right. Ops map. Okay, good. So I want limit opt limit equals looks good enough. And then here's my query. I think this is super easy. I think I just need to do limit blah. Is 3 the right? Yeah, okay. There's 1, 2, so 3 seems right. Oh, I need to so wait a minute. What is args? What else is there? I'm confused here. Where does this thing come from? Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong things here. So I have direction is 1. This strings blah blah blah. This dot join is 2, and then 3 is here. So this would be opt limit. That might be it. Let's see. Well, that threw some things off here. Oh, you know why? Because it's now adding the limit unconditionally, and it's going to be 0 probably most of the time, because that's the default. So this needs to be a little bit smarter. I need to do something similar to what I did here. So if opt limit is greater than 0, then no, I don't want where. I want to like create let's call it limit. Yeah, something like that, right? And then this can just become limit. It's a little bit ugly building a SQL query this way. Let's see if it works. Not quite. Why? I'm not sure what it's complaining about right now. Percent 3D should be fine. This is 1, 2, and 3. Somewhere a percent sign is not being treated properly. Limit should either be an empty string, which is fine, or this limit and then a number. Okay, I'm just going to print the query out and see what it looks like here. Okay. Oh, I know why. Yeah, I'm glad I did that. This should be %s now, since limit is a string and not a number. There we go. That made it work. Add limit support to all docs. Now, oh, I should remove that from here. Append that. Now we're going to do skip. All right. I'm going to copy the same pattern. Opt skip. I think that's right. You know what I forgot to do, though? I forgot to write my test. Let me do that first. Let me undo this stuff. All right, let's write a test. We're going to want two tests. We want one with limit only, or one with skip only, and one with skip and limit, but we're going to do skip only first. Skip to skips first two documents. So we're going to create the same two documents, rev2, blah, blah, blah. But now we expect only to get dog, right? So dog, rev2, rev2. And it's going to fail because it returns all three. Now we're going to add that logic that I just started to ahead of myself. Skip. And then Copilot might be doing this exactly right. That might be all there is to it. Let's see. Not quite. Oh, you know what? I forgot to actually write my test correctly. All right. Yeah. So the thing is, I'm not sure if you can do an offset without a limit, and that's what we're trying to do here, right? Let me check that out. SQLite offset without limit. Is that possible? Set limit to -1. Okay. I don't know if this is authoritative, but 72 people upvoted it and got accepted. So let's hope that's correct. Let's check the official documentation here. Limit. The compound select all that constitute blah, blah. Let me zoom in a bit here. The limit clause. Limit is to place an upper bound on the number of rows. I don't see -1 being listed here. Well, let's just try it and see what happens. So actually, what that makes me think is an easier way to do this is to just put the limit in there all the time, like this. I wonder if offset can be set to -1 also. I can also do two numbers with commas. So offset could be replaced with a comma, in other words. Let's try this. I'm gonna try this. If opt limit equals 0, opt limit equals -1, and if opt skip equals 0, opt skip is -1. Let's try this and see what happens. Okay, it's not working. So let's become a little bit less ambitious here. Let's go one baby step at a time. Let's get back to this case where things are as expected. Incomplete input. Okay, so oh, right. All right. Now I'm back to where I expect to be. I'm going to do the most naive approach I can, which is if limit equals blah, then limit equals limit -1. Tests are passing. Add support for skip to all docs. Now I'm going to add one more test before I do my refactoring that does skip and limit simultaneously. Limit equals 1, skip equals 1. Skips 1 limits 1. Now I should get, what was it? I should get cow only. Rev 3. Whoops. I expect this will already work. It does not. I'm getting dog. Does that make sense? No. Well, I forgot to do this again. Limit. I need to pass 2 parameters, so I need to change my function color. Limit 1, skip 1. Okay. Now I should be getting cow. All right, good. I'm just going to make that part of the previous commit. All right. Now I want to do my refactoring. I don't like all this multi-step query building. So we've already proven that -1 works for limit. So we're going to simplify this. How do I want to do this? So what I want to do is I want to put the limit in here unconditionally. Limit percent 3D and opt limit. And then the skip part or the offset part will come next. So if opt limit equals 0, then set opt limit equals -1. Get rid of this. Rename limit now to offset, since that's what it now represents. I think that should work. Nope. Unrecognized token exclamation point. Okay, so something's broken. Let me dump out that query as I did before. It should give me a pretty strong clue immediately what's going wrong. Yeah, %s. Okay, that's up. No, I don't know what's wrong. Limit -1. The offset thing isn't doing what I expected. That should be, oh, that's the problem right there. Okay, let's get rid of this dump now. All right, that's working. Minor code simplifications. Now I'd like to get this offset out of here and make it part of the same thing, but I don't think it works with negative. Let's try it though. SQLite xidb create table foo id int insert into foo id values 1, 2, 3. Select star from foo limit -1 -1. That's working here. Select star from foo limit 1. All right. -1 skip. Oh, it like when I skip -1, it does like reverse order or skips from the end, or I don't know. It's doing something interesting, but not what I expect. Select star from foo limit 1, limit 2. I'm a little confused about what's going on here. Okay, 1 through 9. Select column. Select star from foo, limit 5. 1 through 5. Offset 2. 2 through 3 through 7 makes sense. Set 1. Okay, offset -1. That seems fine. Limit -1. -1. So that's interesting. So when I do a -1 limit with a skip, it doesn't skip, does it? Limit -1. Okay, this -1 is throwing me off. I'm not sure what that means. In the compound select, all the constituent selects must return. I don't care about that. I want to know about this offset thing, the limit clause. If an expression has an offset clause, then the first m rows are omitted from the result set returned by the select statement, and the next n rows are returned, where m and n are the values the offset and limit clause evaluate to respectively, or select would return less than blah. Oh, okay. So if select would return less than m plus n rows, so that's what's tripping me up here. If the select return less than m plus n rows, the first m rows are skipped. I wish it didn't do that. If the offset clause evaluates to a negative value, the results are the same as if it had evaluated to 0. Okay. So I should be able, if this rule applies before this less than m plus n rows thing, then I should be able to set offset to -1. But it looks to me like it's working the other way around, that it considers this case first, which is so confusing to me. Select star from foo, offset, no, limit 20, offset 1. Okay, well, maybe that's right. So that's if m plus n rows, if select would return less than m plus n rows, which is the case here, because I'm asking for 21, then the first m rows are skipped. That makes sense. Oh, that makes perfect sense. So why was I confused before? What was I doing that confused me? That confuses me. Okay, so there is a difference between offset and comma, and I don't know what the difference is, but there's definitely a difference. Obviously, I don't know if it's a bug or what, but I want the offset behavior. So let me try doing it like this. Actually, I don't need this. I can just do I can just do 0 in that case, right? All right, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? It needs to be D. There. It's working. Further code simplifications. And I can just squash that into the previous one. And now the final skip addition looks like this. We get rid of this limit string, thankfully, and we just if opt limit equals 0, set it to -1. And then we just unconditionally have limit and offset. Limit is by default -1 and offset is by default 0, and it works. I think I need to remove the skip here. I'm happy with that. Let me check the PR CI run status, if I can find it. All right, what happened here? Some of my flaky tests probably failed. Yep, one of them did. Let me just rerun that one. All right. I'm gonna check on this other pull request. All right, I wanted to squash that. I'll do that later. All right. I think I can read into the pull request. Add limit and skip support for all docs view. Great. I need to let that run now, and then I can merge that. I have 2 PRs that I can merge here momentarily, and I think I'm going to call it a day. I started late today. I had a conflict. I told you I was doing an interview. I'm probably going to start doing this an hour later every week, just so it's a little bit less early for anyone who wants to participate from the US. But let me know if you like this new time slot better or the old one. So in the past, I was doing from 3 to 5 p.m. Central European time. Today, it's 4 to 6, or actually 5:30 more like. But I'm thinking of doing 4 to 6 every Monday. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see me cover on this in future live streams. I'll tell you what, one thing I would love to do is work on refactoring some existing code. That's something I do, of course, for my clients all the time. But usually it's not open source code, so I can't do it publicly. If you have an open source project you work on or are aware of, or maybe even your work has code that you wouldn't mind, or that your boss wouldn't mind having on screen, and you'd like my help refactoring it, let me know. I would love to have a project that I could publicly refactor, because I think that's something that doesn't get enough attention in this sort of setting. Watching somebody do a refactor, it can be a very valuable way to learn, and I would love to do that on this channel if I can. Otherwise, a quick reminder, I have a daily Go email where I teach you about Go, going through the Go spec right now, boldlygo.tech/daily. You can sign up for that, and I will send you a daily email about Go. And I mentioned my live streams on there and other YouTube videos or other content I create about Go. So check that out. You can also, if you're not sure, you can browse the archive and see what kind of stuff I've been writing about. Here's the one I sent today. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of interaction today. That's okay. That's fine. I do see we've had a number of people watching. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back again next week when I expect to do this again. I will be taking some time off because I'll be doing traveling with family, but I should be here next week. I think the week after that I'll be taking off, but I'll update my mailing list. So if you're on my daily list, you'll be notified about that, and you'll know whether you should or should not tune in to that live stream that week. Thanks again. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you next week. Cheers.